Thank you very much. It has been very interesting to listen to the talk so far. So I will tell a bit about our DigiMind project, which is a Business Finland funded project, ongoing project. So unfortunately, not much research at this stage, but I'll try to walk you through to the thinking why and how do we think that there would be a potential in these psychophysiological recordings to aid future mental health research and innovation. So first, a bit of background from my own work. So I try to move away this gallery. So my own research focuses in, first of all, developing brains, which is a bit, well, loosely related to today's topic as well, but then also on body-brain interaction. So how does our bodily functions contribute to the formation of our experience of the world and of each other? And in this domain, I'm particularly interested in better understanding and leveraging how different measures, electrophysiological measures like MEG or EEG, and physiological measures from our body, how they can be used to approach individual variation and individually meaningful measures in these signals. So what do they tell about trait characteristics like anxiety that has been mentioned today already, and our unique tendency to behave and experience the world? And what do they tell about the mental or mind states, varying states of mind? This understanding and research that we have been doing is sort of prerequisite or background for this DigiMind project. So trying to better understand whether these measures separately or in combination, the physiological and electrophysiological measures, whether they reveal something about variations or changes in mind state, and the type of variations that would have meaning for monitoring mental health. So this is kind of my personal background. And then to start with, here is the fairly simple basic idea of this DigiMind project. So this is one of the Tietoevry Veturi program projects from this digital health pathway. And you can see here the partners of the project, Lauri Parkkonen and Aapo Hyvärinen from Helsinki, Aalto University and Helsinki University. And then we have some companies involved, but this is heavily a research driven or oriented projects. And the main aim here for us is to use multimodal recordings, multimodal data, combined brain recordings and physiological recordings to form indicators or knowledge that reliably tells about the psychophysiological state or mind state of an individual. And this is, as probably was mentioned already earlier, this is quite a huge aim if one would want to understand all the variety of feelings that humans can have. But we are focusing here on the state of anxiety. And I can't say I was happy to hear the Simo Levanto mentioned the increased challenge anxiety causes to the healthcare system. So this is something, I was happy to hear this because we are kind of in the progress of hopefully finding some solutions to find scalable and more remotely available treatments and monitoring. So we focus on anxiety. This may sound simple, but actually there are many steps, many research steps, and then product development steps ahead that we need to perform in order to achieve this type of features that would be relevant. But at general level, this is the idea that to utilize data to extract features or feature combinations that inform about the state of mind, in this case, anxiety, and this would lead to knowledge that can be used to diagnose or monitor remotely with the digitally available tools. So we start with data and across multiple recordings from the brain and body. And this we all know, I guess. Data is everywhere nowadays. We have everyday life applications that we can use to record physiological responses of our autonomic nervous system activity, and this is already everyday like practice for anyone who wants. And then also brain recordings are coming more and more everywhere. So there is possibility to record lots of data, but this has probably led us to a situation where, or I think that we have data, but we don't have that much information. So this is not yet useful for monitoring disease or treatment progress if we don't understand what this data tells about. So information has become the bottleneck on how valuable this data is, and this is what we try to somehow capture in this DigiMind project for this narrow state of anxiety. So data is something that has potential, but information is then useful and can be acted upon. I was asking about what information is from ChatGPT, and he or she kindly helped me in these definitions. So technological advancements have produced methods to measure brain activity in more natural situations amidst everyday life. But in order to understand the significance of these measured signals, we still need laboratory measurements, integration of different data sources, and experimental manipulation. So we need to kind of enrich the signal that we are measuring in everyday context. We need to put our own knowledge on the relevant features to the data. And this is where I also think that it's very important to have interdisciplinary efforts in this. We need many different areas of expertise to understand the phenomena that are relevant for mental health and mind states. In case of anxiety, or in the DigiMind project, this means that we need to generate data that carries relevant variants about anxiety, so relevant information about anxiety. From psychological perspective, anxiety can be considered as a state, so which is transient condition, or at least varies in time, and it is usually generated by internal processes or thoughts or by external events. And experimentally, we can induce these states of anxiety by using some stimulation or induced thinking tasks. But anxiety can also be considered as a trait, so a characteristic and more stable way of experiencing the world. This is not, of course, always pathological, but then as a pathological condition, anxiety can be the core disorder, but it can also be part of other disorders. So it represents the main symptom in many disorders, for example, in panic disorder or phobias. And it often co-occurs with depression. And anxiety is well, this is not my field, but anxiety is probably also somehow influencing somatic conditions or disorders and for example, treatment of these disorders. Well, we have also heard how important it would be to understand and recognize anxiety for different age groups and a multitude of conditions. The neurophysiological features related to anxiety can be approached by collecting data where this anxiety state varies. So we can induce different states or try to induce or measure these type of signals from different individuals that vary in the trait anxiety. We can also try recording. There was some discussion on this continuous recordings, and we can try recording in naturally time-varying state of anxiety, and then do these reports or requests or ask individuals every now and then about the state of anxiety and use this information. Usually anxiety is the level of anxiety, like any other feeling, is evaluated in this type of 2 dimensions, like arousal and valence, arousal level, and then the positive versus negative valence. Okay, so this is the conditions that are needed experimentally to produce data that's useful. So then how to move from this information about features that we can identify based on these experiments that are relevant for anxiety, how to move to valuable knowledge for mental health diagnostics or monitoring and treatment, following on treatment. So again, with help of AI, I learned that information or knowledge is information that has been further processed by the human mind and integrated with a pre-existing framework and cognitive structures. So in our case, this means the pre-existing framework and cognitive structures relate to mental health treatment and practices, healthcare system, and available, for example, available digital platforms where this type of information could be valuable. So this step we still need to do, and this is only a vision forward on this possible solutions. So a bit the general level description of the idea how this information generated by DigiMind project or research could be utilized for mental health innovations, or particularly in the field of digital solutions or treatment pathways. First, building on the available technologies, specific knowledge on the recorded signals, and AI-based analytics. The aim is to provide these indicators, so markers of mind state, in this case, the anxiety state. And we, of course, need a lot more research then in the clinical practice, clinical trials, how valuable this is for different disease conditions. During research, we apply kind of heavy neuroimaging devices and experimental designs with the idea that we can enrich the easily accessible signals like physiological recordings with the information, how this links with the mind state and the neurophysiological state. Eventually the mental health of individual. So if we are able to do this enrichment process, then we would have easily accessible physiological recordings with information that is relevant for mental health. And they could be then used in different like scalable conditions or settings, and also with remote solutions. Okay, but then the underlying assumption that we build on is that we can somehow read the mind through the body. And whether this is possible, I here finish with showing some of my own thinking based on research we've done, that why I think this is possible. So we should think, so this is the general framework, how brain and mind and body are kind of mediating the same information. So you cannot look one without considering the other. So they are influenced to each other. So this is not only my framework, that's why it's in parentheses, but framework for mental health phenomena. So body is always somehow part of the brain, which is part of the mind, again, influencing the body or part of the body. So it's kind of a cycle which enables, or which means that the signals that we record from the physiological system are also integrated and interlinked with what happens in the brain and mind. So this is the kind of the rough level illustration of the main pathways of information flow between the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system, and peripheral systems in general, the sensory and the motor pathways. And here I focus on the autonomic nervous system, which forms kind of internal loop controlling the homeostatic regulation of our energy balance and things like that. And recent research has shown lots of evidence how this information is highly relevant also for conscious perception and experience for emotions, but also beyond emotions. So there is this kind of loop, continuous loop on or cycle of information exchange between the body and brain. And why this is important for understanding mental health. I didn't provide the references here, but if you're interested, I'm very happy to provide you also research data on this. So there is lots of research nowadays showing how this homeostatic or allostatic regulation, what is the main function of the autonomic nervous system influences. Of course, we know it is relevant for stress response, but also for experience of self, experience of emotions, and also interpretation of social interaction and value of experience. Okay, maybe I skip this part because I think I'm already beyond the time. Just quickly showing, this is the The general framework I already talked about, to put in a bit larger perspective, so we can look at experience and behavior from different levels, psychology, biology, and eventually species-specific characteristics. So we are bound to the body that we live in. We can look at this in the short time window, stress response. Everybody knows in the medium time window how allostatic load can contribute to burnout. And then we can look at the very long time window, lifelong influence of, for example, childhood adversity to this body-brain linkage. So the human body kind of contains information which is relevant for understanding mental health. There are some current research evidence. In our group, we have looked at the coupling between body and brain signals, which we now utilize in the DigiMind project. PhD work by Suvi Karjalainen and collaboration with Jan Kujala, showing that the cardiac and respiratory information influences brain. And there are also some other references, which I won't go into details here, but I'll just finish by advertising. If you're interested in these topics, we have some events coming along in Jyväskylä related to this DigiMind project, where you can discuss more either science or a bit more business related developments. But I'll finish here.